We are at a critical point in this crypto market right now. However, the bulls look like they're still winning. I'm going to be showing you guys why that is on the charts later in this video because it's going to be very important for you to know. It will affect your altcoins because if this driver starts dumping from here, that's going to be very bad for the altcoins. We're also going to be getting into a few altcoin setups here, which will include Telcoin, Kaspa, Neiro. See what has gone on in these markets since the last time I've talked about it. Are there any updated setups, price targets? If you guys want to skip through, that is going to be after the 10-minute mark. But I highly recommend that you guys don't, because if you guys don't pay attention to Bitcoin, which is the driver of this crypto markets, you guys are going to be heavily blindsided by what's going on. I never trade altcoins without a Bitcoin chart in mind, understanding it clearly. Okay. Now, before we get into the charts, let's get into some major crypto news and see what's going on in this market here. All right, this is by Today Q News. The American Party to embrace Bitcoin. Elon Musk confirms on X. So that sounds like it's very bullish for Bitcoin. Okay. If you guys want to read more into details into this piece of news, go ahead. I pulled it from TradingView. Okay. But just the headline there sounds very bullish for Bitcoin and the crypto markets. All right, this is by Be in Crypto. Investor sentiment favors Ethereum over Bitcoin as crypto inflows reach 1.04 billion. So that sounds like it's pretty good for Ethereum right now, because it sounds like from the headline here, without getting too much into detail, that we are getting more Ethereum long price action over Bitcoin. I'm not sure what the time frame of what this author is pointing to, but I mean, it sounds bullish for Ethereum. And I'm not surprised, because Ethereum has been lagging behind Bitcoin for quite a bit. If you actually take a look into the moving averages, you guys can see that Ethereum has actually been lagging behind Bitcoin. For example, Bitcoin has been above its daily 200 SMA for quite some time. Ethereum's still trying to get and hold on top of it, right? Next piece of news here is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin Bollinger Bands reach critical point ahead of upside breakouts. So this definitely sounds bullish for Bitcoin and the crypto markets. I don't read the Bollinger Bands, but from my own signals here, which I'll get to in just a few minutes here, it still looks bullish for Bitcoin. Okay, there are some mixed signals which I will point out to you guys as well, because it's just on the charts, right? I'm just telling you what's on the charts, okay? But that sounds bullish for Bitcoin, according to the Bollinger Band and this author. Next piece of news here, this is by Crypto Potato. Dogecoin posts biggest daily gains as Bitcoin taps 109K. Market Watch. I am not into Dogecoin, but let's take a look into Dogecoin here. What is it talking about? Let's finish this piece of news here first, and then the next piece of news here first, and then get into Dogecoin. If you guys have Dogecoin and have made some pretty big gains today, yesterday, make sure to drop a comment letting me know and letting everyone else know what's going on. Last piece of news here that I'm sharing with you guys is going to be by Be in Crypto. 4 US economic signals that could move Bitcoin this week. So let's get into a few of them. Okay, one is consumer credits. Okay, that this author is pointing out that could affect the markets. FOMC minutes. Okay, that's also very important. It's very important. It's also very interesting that this author is using the CME Watch tool as well, because it's a tool that I use to help predict what the probabilities are of a Fed rate cut or a Fed action, right? For the next upcoming Fed meetings. Very important because that will move the markets. We have initial jobless claims coming up, as well as digital asset tax policies. Okay, so it's worth a read. I'm not going to get too much into detail for that, but let's go ahead and move on to the charts here, which is going to be very important. Now, why do I say that the bulls are still winning in this critical point of the crypto markets? Because last week I mentioned that there was a breakout here, okay, out of this falling wedge pattern. And we're going to be inside this very tight range here because this breakout is basically it's a falling wedge pattern, which usually breaks to the upside, and it did. However, it hit resistance right away at about that 110K level. Okay, you guys can see this. And why is this resistance very important? Because if we actually zoom out here on this weekly time frame, you guys would notice that there is a cup and handle pattern, okay, which with the resistance to be at about 110K. If we're actually able to break that 110K with a clean break, right, then I'm looking at a first price target for that falling wedge pattern to be about 120K, and then out of that cup and handle pattern would be about 145K. Okay, so that's going to be very bullish for crypto. But right now, it's in that very tight range, trying to break above 110K. However, if you guys actually take a look here at the last couple of daily candles, it's still trying. I mean, it's establishing itself above this falling wedge pattern. So to me, bulls are still winning because we're basically still staying on top of this pattern here that we broke out of. There could be some, minor candle closes above and below the pattern, but in my opinion, and in my opinion only, because none of what I'm saying here is financial advice, and you guys should do your own due diligence, but in my opinion, it's still staying on top of this falling wedge pattern. However, if it starts dumping, then my opinions could change, especially if it starts breaking some of these daily moving averages, right? That could be acting as support, which is at about 106.5K. Okay, the daily 21 and the daily 50 SMA. All right, let's go ahead and go to stock market real quick. Okay, why is stock market very important? Because it's highly correlated with Bitcoin, especially the S&P 500 that I keep my eyes on, which the symbol is ES1 exclamation mark. That is the S&P 500 futures, which opens on Sundays, Sunday afternoons Pacific Standard Time. And it's had a very bullish move here, and it's just taking a little bit of a pullback, in my opinion, here. So I don't think there's too much to worry about for the stock market right now. Let's go ahead and go to top 200, some crypto here, okay, which is, first of all, gonna be Telcoin. What is going on with Telcoin? What has happened with this market since the last time we've talked about it? Okay, it has been on a downtrend. Okay, so last time I talked about it, there was a falling wedge breakout, which you guys should very much pay attention to and train your eyes to see, especially if you guys are new to this market. It tells you that after an extensive downtrend, that price action is likely to reverse. So, Telcoin here broke out of this falling wedge pattern. Price target is about 1.2 cents price target. Okay, however, price action has been just dragging and, has basically been dragging downwards. Okay, is this breakout still valid? In my opinion, it's still valid because if we actually take a look into, about the 0.3 cents price level here, right? That's basically the end of this falling wedge pattern. Well, I mean, price action is still above it. It's still above this pattern, even though it's, it's downward trending right now. But in my opinion, this breakout is still valid. Broke out, right, and then formed another falling wedge pattern here. Now, Telcoin has broke out of this smaller falling wedge pattern after the breakout of the bigger one. Price target is about 0.6 cents price target. Still staying on top of this smaller falling wedge pattern. Even though it's basically dragging out, and that's not uncommon to see, especially with quite a bit of resistance above the price action, including a daily 200, daily 50 SMA. Now, what is Telcoin doing here since the last pump bounced off this upward trend line here? It has formed a descending triangle pattern, which is usually bearish, okay? Now, if Telcoin actually breaks down here, the breakdown target would be about zero point 0.3 cents price target, okay? So that is something to be watching out for. That is basically, uh, the end of this bigger falling wedge pattern, that price level there, if you guys know what I mean. So that is basically what I'm seeing. Very important for Telcoin to very important to be paying attention to Telcoin coin right now because it's running towards the end of this descending triangle pattern. Could it avoid a breakdown? Well, descending triangle patterns usually break to the downside. Okay, something to be watching out for. So let's go ahead and go to Kaspa, see what's going on in this market. All right, so Kaspa here broke out of this falling wedge pattern. Okay, very common theme. Price target out of this bigger one is going to be about 15 cents price target. Okay, let me actually adjust for this because it actually has broken out at this point. It's gonna look, it could look slightly different on different time frames. Okay, 15 cents about their price targets. Broke out of it. Has been able to, stay on top of the falling wedge pattern here that it broke out from. Formed a smaller one. Okay, and broke out of this one. Okay, price target out of this one is going to be about 10 cents price target. Has broken out, however, hasn't done too much for the past week or so. Now, what could Kaspa be doing here? What I usually do is I zoom into a lower time frame, right, and see if I can get any more clarity on what the market could be doing. Does it have a higher chance of it breaking to the upside or downside? Now, what I'm seeing here is a possible cup and handle pattern here. Right, it is a cup and handle pattern here with the resistance to be about 8.1 cents. Okay, about 8.1 cents resistance. If it's actually able to break out of this cup and handle, we have a price target of about 8.9 cents. Now, price targets are estimates only. Okay, it could be more, it could be less, and also depends very much on the markets. Right now, we are in a consolidation market, as Bitcoin is the driver and it's in consolidation. It tends to not get as much bullish strength, right, as in a full-on bull market. So what I usually do is if I am in one of these markets and Bitcoin is in a consolidation period, I usually take shorter target profits. Okay, that's just, I'm more cautious, right? It isn't gonna be like a full-on bull market where I can just press snooze and set a longer target. Now, so this is basically what I'm looking at for Kaspa. Cup and handles tend to break to the upside. The downside risk you always have to consider because, even though these bullish patterns tend to break to the upside, there's still a risk that it breaks down, right? Now let's go on to the next market here, which is Neiro. What has Neiro been doing here? I've talked about this a couple of days ago. There was a falling wedge pattern, and price action broke out of it. Now, price target for the smaller falling wedge pattern breakout is going to be about 0.00066. Okay, broke out of it, trying to break on top of the daily 200 SMA, which is the orange line here, and the daily 50 SMA, that's immediate resistance, right, at about that 0.00044 level. Okay, now this is part of a bigger breakout here, out of this bigger falling wedge pattern breakout, right? If price action is actually able to get on top of this price target here, I'll we'll come back here and rechart what's going on with Neiro. If it consolidates, right, then we can chart the consolidation pattern. Just want to mention that this bigger breakout here, as you guys can see, this is the daily time frame. Price target out of this bigger breakout here, which the price action is still very much, in it. We have a price target of about 0.0018 almost. Now, that's basically what I'm seeing for a lot of these altcoins. If you guys want to continue seeing any more of these altcoins, make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe, or let me know you guys want to see any other altcoins. I'll pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis. That wraps it up for this one, and I'll see you guys on the next.